Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers Blue for your CAT VRC preparation. In today's session, we shall be continuing with the RC that we had taken up in the first part of the session. This RC was asked in the CAT exam, the second slot in the year 2019. I have titled the RC as Language and Essentialism. 510 words, the 4 questions. In part one of the session, we had already gone through the passage of the RC in quite some detail. And this part will be dealing with the questions here. Okay, so let's start. Okay, now for those of you who are watching, who might be watching one of these videos for the first time, I'll briefly explain to you the structure of these sessions of this course. Okay, so now guys, every single session caters to one RC, one reading comprehension, and is in turn split into two parts. The first part of the session is where I explain to you the passage of the RC in detail, and the second part of the session is where I take you through the questions of the RC. Okay, and yeah, so and 40 such sessions make up a course. 40 of these sessions make up a course which is titled as an anthology of RCs, which is directed towards your reading comprehension preparation for the CAT. All right, the current video that you're watching is the second part of this session, which caters to this particular RC. All right, so let's move on to the questions then. Okay, guys, so coming to the first question, the STEM says, which of the following, if true, would most strongly invalidate Dr. Watrall's objections? Okay, so Dr. Watrall's objections, I think the correct apt POR was here, where the author mentions this person, gives his description that he's an archaeologist, etc., 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 and then demonstrates his opinion, where Ethan Watrall says he's not comfortable with the arrangement between SEAC and Google. He says that this project is just a way for Google to promote Google. They want to make all this material accessible to people. They want to make all this material accessible to people. Um, so people will browse it and be filled with wonder by it. He says, but at its core, that means its ulterior motive at its core, it's all about advertisements and driving traffic, right? So that's what Dr. Watrall's argument is. That's what Dr. Watrall's objections are. And we need to figure out an option. We need to select an option that invalidates, okay, that invalidates his argument, that invalidates the objections here, that goes against this. Okay, so let's look at the first option. Google takes down advertisements on its website hosting scanned images. Okay, let's suppose Google took down the advertisements from its website. So yes, it will invalidate Dr. Watrall's argument, but only partially, because Watrall's argument is not exclusive only to advertisements. He's also made an advertisement in terms of traffic, right? So if Google takes down advertisements on its website, well, it will the doctor can still respond by saying, okay, fair, maybe you took down the advertisement, but you still are gaining from the traffic, and that's your ulterior motive, right? So his argument is his objections will not be completely invalidated by just taking down advertisements. So you can eliminate the first option. It's only partially correct. Coming to option B, there is a ban on SIAC scanning archaeological sites located in other countries. Okay, so let's suppose if there was a ban on SIAC scanning archaeological sites located in other countries. Well, this Dr. Watrall's concern was relating to Google's ulterior motive. So one part of his objection was that, and the second part of his objection was uh, collaboration between a large corporation and a non-profit organization, right? He says that he's not comfortable with the arrangement between SEARC and Google. So yes, so he has some objections related to SEARC as well. But how can we relate option B to this? Option B simply says that there is a ban on SEARC scanning archaeological sites located in other countries. So maybe in some other countries there is a ban on SEARC. That will see if in fact uh, uh, this might in fact in a very weak manner support the authors, the Dr. Watrall's objections, because he might say, okay, just look at some other countries. They have in fact banned this organization from scanning archaeological sites. We should also do the same. I do understand it's a weak way of supporting it, but if at all it will support it in a weak manner. There's no question about this option invalidating or weakening Watrall's argument, right? If at all it does anything, it provides a very weak support to his argument, right? So you eliminate this option as well. Coming to option C. SIAC uploads its scanned images of archaeological sites onto museum websites only. Okay, now Wattrell's argument was that these Google is going to use these images to drive to gain from advertisement revenue and drive traffic on its website, right? Now, if SIAC uploads scanned images of archaeological sites only on the museum's websites and not on Google, right? Only on the museum websites, and so in that case, there is no way Google can gain these advantages, and hence, in case of this option, Wattrell's argument will in fact be invalidated, and then this thus can be the case. This can be a potential. This is a potential correct option, right? Once we check option D, we'll confirm that. So coming to the next option, SIAC does not own the copyright on scanned images of archaeological sites. Okay, now this might seem to come close, but guys, this option refers to the second criticism, second part aspect of the criticism that has been that the author has talked about by citing a different expert. Okay, this relates to Erin Thompson, and then moreover, SIAC owning or not owning the copyright is not going to affect Google being able to get the ad revenue or being able to get traffic. So irrespective of whether SIAC owns the copyright or not, if Google happens still gets to have those images on its website, and which I think is safe to assume is not dependent on SIAC's ownership of copyright. So uh, it will like its ownership will not make any difference to whether Google is able to use that get the advertisement revenue or and the traffic or not, right? So this is totally irrelevant so far as this specific context is concerned. Okay, it does not relate with Wattrell's argument for sure. It might relate, it does relate with Erin Thompson's argument or the argument of the second expert, but not with Wattrell's argument. So you can eliminate this option as well with a capital E. And yes, so your correct answer here will be option C. Let's move on to the next question. Coming to question 2, the stem says, by digital colonialism, critics of the SIAC Google project are referring to the fact that now the appropriate point of reference for this expression, digital colonialism, is right here. The author says, but the project is raising questions about Google's motivations and about who should own the digital copyrights. And in reference to the ownership of digital copyrights, he says that some critics call it a form of digital colonialism, right? So that's the appropriate point of reference for this, in light of which let's assess the options now. Option 1 says the scanning process can damage delicate frescoes and statues at the sides. Outrightly funny, in fact. Forget about the option being correct. It's actually so wrong that it borders on being funny. And because, see guys, the author has talked about damage to archaeological sites, but the damage has not been talked about in the context of the scanning process. It has been talked about in the context of due to earthquake or maybe due to blasts, right? Blew up parts of the ancient city. So the damage has been talked about in the past, but not due to the scanning process. So this can be eliminated with the capital E. It will either be a case of inclusion, error of inclusion, or a case of gross distortion. Okay. Coming to the next option, SIAC and Google have not shared the details of digitization with the host countries. Okay. Now, by digital colonialism, the author has nowhere implied that whether they SIAC and Google have shared the details of digitization or and not shared the details of digitization. In fact, there is a part in the past where the author has cited SIAC as saying that it works very closely with authorities, so it is very unlikely to infer this. And then even if you're able to well, you can't infer this, and then it anyways is not something that what the critics mean by digital colonialism. It's not about sharing of details or not sharing of details. It's about sharing and not sharing of copyrights, or in fact about more about who owns the copyrights to the images. So this is not at all definitely not the answer. You can eliminate this with a capital E. Uh, and this will be a case of, I think, I have not shared the details of digitization with the host countries. Details of digitization. This will be a case of distortion, I think. Yes. Coming to the next one. Uh, countries where the scanned cities are located do not own the scanned copyrights. Yes, that's exactly the point that the second aspect of the criticism is making, and even here, even at the point of reference, you can see that the line reads that about there have been raising questions have been raised about who should own the digital copyrights, and some critics call it a form of digital colonialism. So it does make sense. Option C does make sense. I'll mark it as a capital S. Coming to option D, it says SAC and Google have been scanning images without copyright permission from host countries. Now, this is a really interesting case of distortion here. So, nowhere, guys, has the author talked about the idea that you need copyright permission to scan the images. Like it's a really a very unconventional way to distort the idea here. So yeah, this is definitely incorrect. So your correct answer here will be option C. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so question 3. The stem says which of the following arguments, which one is least likely to be used by the companies that digitally scan cultural sites? Now, the apt point of reference for this, well, in fact, it will be the overall passage, but if at all we want to look at a point of reference, it will be this one, because this is where SAYAC, which in the context of this passage is the company that digitally scans cultural sites, has made some arguments. Okay, it says that SAYAC says it copyrights the scans so no one can use them in an inappropriate way. The company says it works closely with authorities during the process, even training local people to help. So that's the argument that they have made, and in light of that and the whole passage, let's look at the options. And guys, please be mindful of the idea that we are supposed to select the option that is least likely to be used. Okay, so the options that they are actually likely to use will not be your answer, but your answer will be basically the option that they are least likely to use, right? Which might probably which will probably be something that might go against them, right? So you can think of it like that. Coming to the first option, it says it helps preserve precious images in case the sites are damaged or destroyed. So yes, the companies are likely to use this argument, right? Because it is in their favor. It says that yes, it basically supports their act of digitizing these cultural sites, scanning these cultural sites. Yes, it will help. So they are likely to use this. So this will be a case of T, right? Not the case of F, where F is T is where they are likely to use. You're supposed to find the least likely, right? So option A is eliminated with this. Option B, it enables people who cannot physically visit these cities to experience them. So again, they are likely to use this. There's no way this can, at least so far as the passage in the purview of the passage, this argument cannot go against these companies, right? Who digitally scan the cultural sites. They might just make this argument. They are likely to make this argument that yes, digitizing these photographs enables people who cannot physically visit these sites to experience them. So yes, so you can eliminate this as well. Next, option C, it provides images free of cost to all users. So again, they might use this because again, it does not go against them, right? So probably, but we'll still put this on hold for now. Let's read the next option. It allows a large corporation to project itself as a protector of culture. Now, even if this were true, which we don't have any reason to believe that it is, even if it were true, they will still not be likely to to make that statement in public, right? To say that okay, yes, the reason why we are digitally scanning these cultural sites is that it allows our corporation to project itself as a protector of culture, right? So even if they are pretending to do this, they would not uh, go on and make this argument. So they are so and then move and also note that we don't really know that they are pretending or not. So in either case, whether they are if they're not pretending to do this, if they're not actually doing this, then obviously they will not make this argument because it will affect their image negatively. And even if they are doing it, they'll still not make the argument because even then it will affect their image negatively. So this is something that they are least likely to use as an argument. These companies among the four options. So you can definitely select this as your correct answer. Right, this is the case. This is your correct answer, F. Yeah, and then that also clarifies that you can eliminate option C. Okay, so coming to the next question, let's go to the next question. Okay, so option four, question four. The stem says, based on these views mentioned in the passage, one could best characterize Dr. Watrall as being. And the question setter of this passage seems to have been quite fixated on Dr. Watrall, right? Hmm. Again, the same point of reference, where the author has cites this expert and provides his credentials, followed by his point of view, where he says that Watrall says that this project is just a way of Google to promote Google. They want to make this material accessible so people will browse it and be filled with wonder by it. But at its core, it's all about advertisements and driving traffic. Watrall also says that these images belong to on the site of a museum or educational institution where there is serious scholarship on a very different mission. So in the backdrop of this point of reference, let's look at the options. And before we do that, I would like to make a note about this particular question, and that is that this particular question has some really good options, in terms of uh, quality, because even the options which are not correct, which are incorrect, come very close to being come quite close to being ideas that can be inferred with a slight leap from the passage. Okay, so and then so we'll see that. We'll see that. Let's look at the first option. It says one could best characterize Dr. Watrell as being uneasy about the marketing of archaeological images for commercial use by firms such as Google and SEAC. So if you don't go into the details of this, it almost seems like something that might be true. Yes, he does seem to be a little uh, disapproving of the images being used for advertisements for ulterior motives, which he has assumed of advertisements and driving traffic. So it does seem that way. But guys, the option, the passage in the passage, what Watrell seems to imply is that his concern is with these organizations uh, getting benefits of these images as an ulterior motive. Okay, at the back of a facade of providing accessibility, and that concern is not exactly the same as what this says. Okay, it's it's very easy to imagine Water making an argument. Okay, that fair enough. I don't really have a problem with the marketing of these. It's as long as you are being upfront about it. So I'm not saying that this is not possible. Option A is not possible is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the point I'm trying to make here is option A is not something that can be directly and necessarily inferred about his characteristics. Okay, so as much as I agree that this is an option that cannot be directly eliminated here, it is also an option that cannot be selected. So we'll just put this on hold for now, and let's look at the other options. Option two, option B, it says he can be characterized as being dismissive of lay people's access to specialist images of archaeological and cultural sites. Now, even this is a very close option, because if you read this later part where he says that these images belong on the site of a museum or educational institution where there is serious scholarship as opposed to being accessed by lay people, right? It's very easy to infer that, to fall into that. And in fact, there is a good chance that the expert, Dr. Watrell, might actually adhere to this belief. But that's not the point. There being a good chance of the author of this expert adhering to this belief and being able to necessarily derive that idea that yes, it does best characterize him as being dismissive of lay people's access are not the same. They come close, they come very close, but they're not the same. And hence, again, I'll just mark this option as I'll put this on hold. Let's put this on hold and then move on to the next one. We cannot eliminate this just yet. Okay. Option C, critical about could be best characterized one could best characterize Dr. Watrell as being critical about the links between a non-profit and a commercial tech platform for distributing archaeological images. This option is a savior. The reason why this is a savior is because now you will not have to go into the depths of how much inferable the first two options are, because option C is something that has been directly stated here, right? He says that this part says that he's not comfortable, right? Ethan Waterall and his credentials, after mentioning his credentials, the passage says He's not comfortable with the arrangement between SARC and Google. Now, this is a very apt and it's a very appropriate point of reference for this part of the passage, for this option. So yes, we can definitely, based on this point of reference, we can characterize Watrall as being critical about the links between a non-profit and the commercial tech platform for distributing archaeological images. So yes, right. You can select this as an answer. Option, coming to the next one, last option. Opposed to the, he can be characterized as being opposed to the use of digital technology in archaeological and cultural sites in developing countries. So as much as Watrall has been quite vituperative towards these organizations such as Google and SIAC and what they are doing in the process of digitizing these precious cultural sites. As much as he has been he has opposed that, but he has not shown any direct disapproval of the digital technology itself. Okay, expressing disapproval with respect to these organizations and expressing disapproval with respect to the digital technology are obviously not the same idea, right? So you can eliminate this as well. So see, you can see this how this was actually a quality question, because these first two options came quite close. It doesn't happen very often that where you mark answers based on this mode of answering, double OSE, right? So that's why that shows you that this was a difficult question to answer. Anyhow, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so coming to question 5. The stem says, in Dr. Thompson's view, SEAC owning the copyright of its digital scans of archaeological sites is akin to what? Which are the following options, right? Finally, Dr. Thompson is also getting some footage here, right? The question setter had been too focused on Dr. Watrall so far. Anyhow, so the apt point of reference for this is here, because this is where the author has cited Thompson's view here. He says that Eric Thompson, a professor of art crime at John J. College of Criminal Justice in New York City, says it's the latest example of a Western nation like this. The digital scanning of an archaeological site. This is the latest example of a Western nation appropriating a foreign culture, a centuries-old battle, right? So that is the point of reference in the light of which we'll assess the options. Uh, coming to the first option, it says digital scans of archaeological sites, in his view, is akin to tourists uploading photos of monuments onto social media. So guys, according to Thompson, it is a latest example of Western nation appropriating a foreign culture, not the public doing something. We can't assume that the tourists are Western tourists and they are, and moreover, they are uploading the photos of monuments on social media. They're not imposing their rights on it, right? So this is definitely that does not would not match with Thompson's view with respect to digital scans of or archaeological sites. So you can eliminate this. Option B, it says is akin to the seizing of ancient Egyptian artifacts by a Western museum. So now that comes close. Western museum seizes Egyptian artifacts. Western nation appropriating a foreign culture. Foreign culture is in this case ancient Egypt, in the ancient Egypt, and there are the Western Museum is the representative of the Western nation here. So this can be an answer. We'll mark this as a case of small s / capital S and move on to the next option. The illegal downloading of content from the internet. Okay, is the illegal downloading when content is being downloaded from the internet, the downloader, the person who's downloading it, is not imposing any rights on it. Okay, now I've illegally downloaded this content. Now you don't have the right to use this because I have illegally downloaded the content, right? So no, it does not match. And then moreover, there are no aspects of a Western nation or a foreign culture being being presented here. So you can eliminate this option quite easily with a capital E. Coming to option D, digital platforms capturing users' data for market research. Again, digital platforms are not representative of Western nation. User is not representative of a foreign culture. And capturing of data does not mean that there is an imposition of right, as was the case here in right where this where SARC is owning the copyright of the digital scans. So even that does not make sense. So option D also doesn't make sense, does not match with Dr. Thompson's view in this context and can be eliminated easily. Your correct answer will thus be option B. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Let's move on to the next part. Okay, coming to the vocabulary section, the way we'll go about this is you have been provided the passage along with some highlighted words, which I figured some of you may have found challenging. And on the right side, the meaning of those respective words. So you can check the word in its context as part of its sentence, and then check, refer to its meaning to get a better understanding of that. Now, the meanings provided here are primarily I've tried to keep them contextual. The general meaning of a word and its contextual meaning are usually the same, but in cases where there might have been a slight difference, we have stuck with the contextual meaning. Okay, and the way you'll want to go about this is pause the video and go for it, because I'm not going to go through. I don't plan to go through each and every word here, because we'll anyways have other separate vocabulary sessions or courses to take care of vocabulary. All right. So, all right, guys. So let's start with the analysis and reading section of the video. So starting with analysis, RC analysis first, the genre for this RC is here. Now, for those of you who might have faced difficulty in the topic of the RC with respect to the topic of the RC, the ideas discussed, or maybe even the terminology of the RC, you would definitely benefit from reading more content from the same genre. The readability of the RC, or not the RC, the passage. Okay, the readability is just of the passage, right? So it basically shows you how difficult or easy the passage was to comprehend. It has been scored out of 10. It is based on a variant of Fleshkin CAD grade level scale, that is the most ubiquitously used readability scale across various types of text. So it is quite reliable. So it is based on the variant of this. So from this, you can gauge how readable or easy or difficult to comprehend the passage was. Next, the length of the passage is also provided here. I would suggest that you the parameter that you should use for understanding or for checking the length of passage should not be just the number of words, but rather number of words that you are required to read for answering for every question that you need to answer, right? So and which for cat RCs is usually around 100 words per question, plus minus 15 to 20% sometimes. So you can take this as a benchmark and compare how lengthy or not so lengthy this passage was, and accordingly incorporate steps in your strategy to address if you faced issues in terms of because of the passage length. Coming to the last part of the analysis, ideal time to solve the RC is the total time is listed here. Time required that you should have taken up while reading the passage should have been less than this, and for questions should have been less than this, and this is the overall total, right? So yeah, so that's the ideal time. Finally, suggested readings for this based on this RC, based on this genre, and based on this RC. A couple of articles have been picked up, which the title and the author and the platform where they are available have been provided here, and the links to these articles are provided in the description of the this YouTube video. Okay, so you can check out those articles and read those, go through those to get some more exposure in this genre and in this topic. Okay, so that completes the reading and analysis part of this section of this session. So with this session, guys, we have completed the third passage of your second genre, which was culture and social sciences. Two more passages to go to complete this genre, and then we'll move on to the third genre. Okay, so yeah, and then for those of you who have not watched the earlier passages, you can go to the course page. You can go to the playlist page of the playlist of the channel on YouTube, and you can check out the other videos. All right. So yeah. Okay, guys. So with this, we have come to the conclusion of the session. Now, for those of you who have not watched the first part of this particular RC, this particular session, you can click here on this card, and it will take you on this video, and it will take you to the first part where you can go through the passage explainer to understand the passage in detail. And for those of you who want to watch the intro video of the course, you can click on this card here. It will take you to the intro video of the course. and for those and others again. And definitely, if you like the session, do share it with the others who might find it helpful and useful. And definitely do subscribe to the channel Struggles Blue for your CAD VRZ preparation. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.